Hit it. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Can you all see us chat? That's what. Can you see me? That's the question. You can't see the rest of them because I haven't clicked onto the buttons yet. We're about 30 seconds away from 9 o'clock. Yes. How are you liking the new studio? I can't see anything in chat yet because we're about 40 seconds behind, or you're 40 seconds behind me.
No, I've got you now.
So Gary's got me, and I've got look. There's Gary, and there's Cheefkeef. Yeah, they're in the house, and apparently we are. Yes, indeed, on the live page. Yeah. So we've got some stuff. Yeah, we've got some stuff, and it'll all be coming up very shortly. Yes. Yes, chat. Hello, chat. We've got Monster and Miles and Kim and DJ and Darren and Rob and Carl and Jan and Dave the Rayon and Whip, Fuzzy Ann, Leanna, Tom, Ashley, Steve. Yeah, you're all in there. Yes. Very round. Yes, it is, isn't it? It's a very round desk. It's kind of, not that way. This one looks better. Look, it's a long way away. Hello. Hello. Or we can have this one, yes, which we'll probably stick with. But it's a lovely reflective surface, isn't it? Yes. Anyway, we've got Gary. Say hello, Gary.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, I'm watching stuff.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it's all good. But hello. Good evening. Welcome.
And we've got Keith. Hello, Cheefkeef.
Good evening, Marco, and good evening, Gary.
Good evening, my dear boy.
Now, see, I've got you on individual. I've got you with me like this, like that. And I've got you individual, but I've not got one of us all together. Yes, maybe I should have done that. But there you go. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the two juices that we didn't do last week. If you remember, we had these juices on last week, and Gary and I are going to be talking about a couple of those. And we've got some news stories, which we'll all be talking about. There's finally the Subtank VT, but all of that is going to be after the titles. Yes, it's VaperScene. VaperScene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. Yes, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to this week's show. It is, in fact, Tuesday the 28th of April. Yes, 28th of April. And that makes next week's show something like the something of May. And then next weekend, it's Vape Jam. Yeah, so that's going to be good. So, as I said, I've got this fellow with me, Mr. Garry Dibley.
Hello.
He smiles. And then that man here from Brum, Mr. Cheefkeef. Oh, Chiefy.
Oh, Dudley Marco.
Dudley. Good.
No Brum.
Boston. Boston. Dudley. I've got fond memories of Dudley. Yes. Dudley Zoo. Long time ago. What can I say?
You're not wrong back, weren't you?
I was here. I was there. Ooh, there a few weeks ago. Yeah, for the Midlands Vape Meet down in there. That Dudley. Great. Austin. Anyway,
Yeah.
we digress. With my really poor Birmingham accent. We're going to kick straight away into this week's show. And last week, Gary and I looked at these here juices. We looked at Cameron's Eton Mess last week and also the Bennett's Green Deal. And we both really kind of liked the Bennett's Green Deal, but the Cameron's Eton Mess we weren't too fond of. And this week, we'll be looking at Clegg's Blueberry Coalition Crumble and Farage's Lunchtime Tipple. Yes. But before we do that, we're going to look at a news story here. And this was from the Mirror today. Tobacco giants fund e-cigarettes least likely to make you quit. I think that should probably say tobacco giants funded e-cigarettes least likely to make you quit, really. This is from the Mirror. And it says the tobacco giants are funding the types of e-cigarettes that are least likely to make you quit, according to a new study. The study looked at 587 people using e-cigarettes and compared those who used cigalikes versus those who used tank models. And then it tells you a bit about what they are, which we all know. But in the study, around 76% of participants used cigalikes, while 24% used tank models. And after a year, nearly a third of daily tank users, 28%, had quit smoking, compared with 11% of daily cigarette users, which is roughly the same as those who don't use e-cigarettes, which was 13%. And it goes on. And we'll go to the last section here, which here. Yes, so there was a study in 2013. E-cigs have evolved a lot since then. If this really does eventually turn out to be a true effect, then it argues for the use of these products within a regulated cessation program rather than using them as a consumer good, said Professor Martin McKee from London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. However, Tom Pruin says from e-cig trade body ECITA, we all know Tom, he doesn't think tobacco companies are producing ineffective products deliberately. He thinks it's more reflection that simple sealed cigarette products are better suited to the wholesale distribution channels they use and the poor understanding of the market they had when buying up e-cig companies. What do you think about that, Mr. Dibley?
Yes. Well, I've got 2 points on that. Firstly, I agree with Tom, but I think they've sort of gone for the thing which aids the initial transition. And a lot of the people that I speak to that are switching, and I say switching, I hate the quit word, switching to vaping, most of those, as I was at the time, look for that little stick thing. You know, they look for something of similar size, shape, form factor, this, that and the other. It's very hard to shove a big tank in someone's hand, you know, and go, there you go, you're vaping. They look for that. So I don't think they've got it wrong. They've got it wrong in my eyes in the way of that is the end of their product range. It's a cigarette thing, that's it. They think they've got it now. You know, people will then start, I think, as we all did, you know, looking, searching, trying to find the next thing. So they're in my head, I think they've got it right in what they're doing, because they are targeting, as a tobacco company, smokers, and I think you'll find the majority of smokers that you talk to that want to have a go at an e-cig will pick up a cigarette. But that's my view.
Yeah, I've got to say, I used to smoke roll-ups. So for the past X amount of years before I gave up and switched to vaping, I was using roll-ups. So getting something as small as a roll-up wasn't going to happen, was it? I went straight in with a Riva 906, no, a Riva 901 kit, I think it was, I bought with the little tanks. I didn't go for the cigar-like. Although I've tried some since for this show and for other reviews and things. Never really enjoyed the experience of using the cigar-like, I have to say. What about you, Chief?
Yeah, I mean, I started with the cigar-like. I mean, I wasn't on it for very long. I mean, I think it was only about 2 weeks, maybe a bit less, in fact. And then I moved on to, I think it was a C4 and an Ego battery. But,
how long ago was that, Chief?
Just over 2 years now.
Okay.
But as far as that that story goes. I think the way they've put it is that tobacco companies are trying to use the cig-alike method because it's the least effective method of quitting from proper tobacco cigarettes. So in other words, they're trying to use cig-alikes to keep people on tobacco cigarettes, basically, is the way that I think they're wording that story.
Yeah, it kind of read that like, a bit like that to me. And no DJ, no one has passed wind. It's my chair. It's squeaking. I keep saying I need to use my Teflon lube on it, but I never did, so I'll do it for next week. No, it's the whole thing, this cycle, isn't there, where a smoker decides to change to vaping, goes on to a cig-alike, doesn't get on with that because, quite frankly, they're not that cracking, are they? And then either goes back to smoking or goes the NRT route, tries the NRT, that doesn't work for them, so they go back to smoking, and that cycle. And getting somebody to use something that is effective for them, it's A, personal choice, but also B, it's knowledge and availability of those products. And we know that there's so much more availability of decent kit out there. It's just a case of some people don't know where to go because the information's not out there. If they go to the quit centres, unless you're lucky enough to go to Louise Ross's, then you may not get the information that you need. You know, if you're not watching shows like this, you're not looking at the forums, and you're not seeing anything in the wider press, then, you know, you may not see that. Any further, Gary, while I look at chat?
No, I was just saying, I think it's down to the individual as well, isn't it? Like you say, it depends how inquisitive you are, I suppose. If you know, there are some people out there that will, you know, like you say, will go, oh, well, you know, this is all that's available and it's crap, therefore I'm going to go back to smoking. Or, you know, there are people out there who will go, you know, I think my transition, like I say, was from the Nicorette tampon thing. That sort of worked. Then I thought there must be something that looks a bit better than something on this bloody thing. You know, went out and found the first little 901 kit, and from there was like, yeah, it's okay, but you know, what else is there? And it was just, I think there will be people that have got that inquisitive nature that will search. And you know yourself, if you put e-cig in you know, any search engine or electronic cigarette or whatever they call them, you'll get a whole host of stuff back. And the inquisitive people, I think, are the people that move on and are the people that finally switch. And again, it's down to the individual, isn't it? There are percentages you'll stick a patch on one day and go, that was crap, I'm back on 20 a day. You know, and it keeps people coming back. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, the whole cycle, yeah. Round and round and round. It is difficult, and especially when you also get the bad press that seems to be bounding around quite a lot. So we'll watch that one. I think we'll put a pin in it, as Andy would say, and we'll watch that one. But going on to the second little thing we're going to do in this half, which is the juices. We'll have this. Juicy. Yes, the Juicy election special. Which one of the two that we're looking at this week, Gary, have you tried first? Which one are you going to talk about first?
I tell you what, should we go for that? I'm gonna screw it on the little ice stick because my 306 has finally arrived.
Yay!
I haven't used one of them for a damn long time, but 50 pence each with a drip tip. Can't be knocked. I mean, there's something stupid. They're like 4 ohms, which is ridiculous. And I've got this at 5.1 watts, and it's like putting out about 4.5 volts. Yeah, it's yes. So Farage's lunchtime tipple.
Oh yeah,
was the first one that I tried, and the drawer that is as tight as buggery. It's it's definitely an interesting one, because it's one of those, to me, that tastes different every time I have a go at it, if you know what I mean. And I was at first getting something very licoricey, which then turned into sort of a espresso-y coffee, and then a sort of a quite a heavy tobacco. It like I say, it's different every time. I'm not getting any beer. I'm getting a licorice coffee tobacco-y mix, which seems to differ every time I have a go on the damn thing.
Yeah, let me show you what it's supposed to be. Full tobacco flavour with a dash of beer, topped off with a note of espresso. And for me, I'm getting the espresso. I'm definitely getting a coffee on the kind of the back note, but it's heavy tobacco for me, and I don't like it that much, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. I like it lots, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's. I'm not a big fan of tobacco flavoured juice, I have to say. I do like my fruity flavours. Yes, to all the naysayers about why adults want to have fruity vapes. I much prefer fruit, chocolate, nut type flavour than tobacco, and this is definitely not one for me. But again, we are completely different, and it's a very subjective thing, Juice.
It is.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say that the best way that I could describe that is snogging a Frenchman.
Never done that.
Neither have I. But my imagination is that's what it would be like, a really heavy espresso with a bit of tobacco mixed in. It's one of those. I'm not getting any beer at all, but I'm not saying I'd want to snog a Frenchman, but I like it.
Okay, so we've gone from, well, we're not going to go there.
No, we're not going to.
Snogging a Frenchman. The second one, let's move on to the second one, and that is, it's Clegg's, isn't it? Let me see, where's the little thing? Here we go. That one, Clegg's Blueberry Coalition Crumble. Now, I'll tell you what it's supposed to taste like afterwards, but I get a lot of fruit from this. I actually like this one, and I've finished the bottle now. I'm on the kind of second half of the bottle.
See, for me, that one is what I would describe as a perfumey fruit, if you know what I mean. I'm getting the more of the taste of what you'd expect to. I get quite a synthesized, perfumey, fruity taste from that one. And it's definitely blueberry, but all I'm getting is blueberry. Not much else. To me, it's quite, like I say, perfumey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I'm getting a fruit. It's more like a black currant, bramble type fruit to me.
Yeah.
But I'm getting, on the back of it, I'm getting a kind of a pie crust. It's almost like a blackberry and apple pie kind of flavour. It does smell of blueberries, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I quite like this one. It's just like Bennett's last week, the strange kiwi grapefruit one. You weren't getting the grapefruit, whereas I was. So we've got very different palates, and different people are going to get different things from it because they taste things differently. But of the two, and this is supposed to taste. Here we go. Oh, we go. Blackberry crumble. There we go. Blueberry.
It's
yes.
less perfumey the hotter it gets.
Yeah, shortcake and vanilla, they're saying as well. Well, I've got this at 370 degrees on a 0.15 coil. And I played around with different temperatures as well, and this kind of brought the flavour out for me. Again, he's on the DNA 40. So for me, that's nice. I do like that one. Final thoughts?
I'm loving the 306s again. 5 watts on a 4-ohm device. It's producing really nicely, and the heat's there. It's ridiculous. I might get some more of those. But yes, for me, Farage gets it this time. I like that. It's a real deep, rich. I like something. That one there is something that I could quite happily have. It wouldn't be an all-day vape, but that's something I could sit down after a meal and enjoy a nice long session on a any type of atty with that. I think that one for me. This one, although is nice, it wouldn't be an all-day. It'd be an occasional dipping job. It is fruity, but it's perfumey. I like the other one for its deep richness, shall I say?
Okay, well, I'll give you the rest of my bottle next week at Vape Jam then, because I don't want it. What are you? I know you haven't tasted these, used these, Keith, but what are you vaping on right now? What's your favourite flavour at the moment?
I'm loving this summer solstice from Vape Kitchen at the moment. This is absolutely beautiful to me. This is.
And what flavours are you getting from that?
Well, I'm absolutely useless at trying to describe flavours, Mark. I'm absolutely useless. All I can say is fruity.
Fruity.
Basically, fruity. I mean, I can tell you what it's supposed to be tasting like. It says a refreshing blend of 11 sunshine-inspired flavours. Ripe peach, citrus and melon notes perfectly juxtapose the ginger, vanilla-infused mint julep finish.
Oh, that sounds quite nice, actually. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Whip It Up has just put into chat there, blueberry during the day, choc mint in evening. I do like a bit of choc mint, I have to say. And I've just actually, let me go out of shot for a second. I've just got a couple from Liberty Flights. I've got a peach Melba and a cinnamon legend. Yeah. Both 24 milligram. I'll be trying them during the week, I think. Let us go into the first set of ads. Yes. And we'll have more when we come back. We'll see you in 2. VaperScene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
And now it's back to VaperScene on Vapor Trails TV. VaperScene is sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. Wow, didn't that go quick? Welcome back to part 2. Just looking in chat there. And there's a lot of talk about juice. Egg custard tart. Egg custard tart sounds quite nice if it's done right with a bit of cinnamon, because that would be well tasty. I do like a bit of egg custard tart to eat, I have to say. We're going to go into the next bit of VT, and this is from Mr. Garry Dibley. And on last week's show, we were asked a question about the best way of testing a mod to see if it was broken or not. So Garry will explain. Yes, here's this week's MFT.
Right, so we are back for another week. As you can see, my wood, and I was trying to show you this last week live on the camera, how thin that has now become. Now this has been sat waiting for a finish, and I totally forgot to order the glue. So we're going to look at a bit of testing as was requested last week. I've dug out, because there's 1 or 2 ways we can finish this. I could have just gone forward, and I'll show you some bits that this here is a stained wood, and I've shown you one of these before. Now this has just literally been buffed with a little bit of clear, not wax, but same sort of stuff as the boiled linseed oil, clear. Now what we were aiming for, like I said, was the CA or the super glue finish. I've dug out one that I've done. Now this is cherry wood, and that is the CA finish. Now this was the first one I did, and if you look, it's ever so slightly lumpy in the finish if I run that down. But it's only because I was rushing it, and I didn't sort of buff it up properly with the micro mesh. But that is the same technique as what we're going to be using on here. That is a CA glue or super glue, and you know, oil first and super glue on top. A couple of layers, a thin coat, a thick coat. So as soon as I get the glue in, which hopefully should be next week, we should hopefully get this with a finish sort of like that on, hopefully. What I'm going to do this week is talk you through, somebody made mention in the chat about testing mods and how can we do that. So I shall pop away, grab my meter, we'll come back and we'll run through a little bit of some of the things that we can test for when it comes to a failed mod. Back into, and we're back. I've been having a little think and digging out some of my older mods that I know have got problems with, just to sort of show you how I would go through excuse me, a fault finding process. Now it's going to be different for everybody, and this is probably going to be wrong for some will get something from it, some won't, but this is the way that I do it. Simple as. I know the problem with these two, and this is a little ZMX Mini, and the switch is intermittent as buggery. Nothing more, nothing less than a dodgy switch. You know, at some point I'm going to probably strip that apart and have a play, because I liked that little mod. This was, I can't remember what that thing was called. Same sort of principle, and same sort of button, and again button knackered. You know, with the Vamo, and it's amazing how far we've come since the Vamo was the go-to, if you like, VV and variable wattage mod of choice. Now mine's pretty much like a banana. This one was used and abused to bits. Now we've done stuff with the Vamo boards before, and probably this one will be dissected, because I like it. It works within the ranges that I use. 15 watt top endy, mainly push it up a bit on other things. But I know this one is kafooked, broken. And I found my SVD while I was there. I haven't used this for ages, so I found that hidden in a corner of the workshop while I was looking for tubes. So yeah, I've tanked it up, and it's huge compared to the boxes. With something like this, it can be relatively easy to find a fault. When you start going up to things like the this is the little 30-watt mini jobby. With most of these, what you'll find is when you hit your button, you cannot, and I'll show you what I mean, get a voltage reading on the output on these, because as soon as you hit the button, you get that sort of a warning. So it's not putting out any voltage at all. So it's impossible to test the voltage output. Same as the this little jobby. You know, as soon as you hit your button, check your atomizer, because there's nothing on it. And the same with the Aspire. As soon as you hit your button, check your atomizer. There's nothing attached, so you're getting no voltage out. With these sort of things, you've got to start dissecting, taking apart and dissecting, and looking into what's going into the chip and what's coming out of the chip. Gone are the days where you could just chuck a multimeter on the top and go from there, really. So with this one, same sort of scenario. I don't know if it's on. Yeah, it's on. Now, I don't know if you can see that on this particular type of thing, you would get the same scenario, a low reading. Now, I know this is not working, so where would I start? The first thing that I would check with any mod that's not performing would be the battery. I know it sounds silly, but that is your fuel cell. That's the thing that drives the thing, and we need to check that's okay. Easiest way to do it, check it in another mod, or just stick a multimeter across it. I've got 4 volts. I know that mod should be functioning. Battery's working. It's working in another mod. Where do I go from there? Tubes work, and you know, in lots of, pretty much the same way. Your neg spring on the bottom is connected to and directly pressurized into the or press fitted or floating into the bottom of the cap. The reason for that is because your body is carrying the negative part of the circuit. Now, that negative part of the circuit goes all the way up to the outer ring of your atomizer. So we do a continuity check, which would mean setting your meter to a beep test, which basically, when you complete a circuit, you get a beep. So I would start with, you know, bottom end of the body, and just go up to the negative pin on the atomizer, just checking I've got continuity. And that's the way that I work through most circuits, checking your continuity. So, you know, from point A to point B, if you know you've got a battery terminal coming in, for example, on a box mod, if you were to dissect one of these things, and it's always best to do this sort of testing with no battery connected. You know you've got your negative pin on there. You know, you trace your first point that it goes to, and you test your continuity between those 2 points. If it's good up and to the board, I would then test past the board. So again, testing the continuity all the way out to the final point, which is the atomizer connection. Now on here, I know that the screws, because the way that the earthing works in here, the screws screw directly into the body, and my ATI end is connected directly to the body as well. So by touching a screw and the outer ring of the ATI, I've got continuity. So my neg's there, and that should trace all the way back through. Once you know you've got continuity going up through the negative portion, and you'll know that you have to dissect the mod to have a look at it, effectively. And I know my battery's okay, so I know I've got a negative feed running all the way through. The next thing I'd do would be look at this end. Now, not so much of a problem with a mod like this, which has got a floating pin. This is a retrofit Fat Daddy in the top of this Hannah Clune. These can sometimes short as well. By testing on the pos on there and the neg, there's nothing at all. Oh, that's because I touched the body. But there's nothing when you press on that middle pin. No continuity. There should be no beeps when you're testing that bit. Over to this one, and providing I know that my feed is there for the neg, my battery's okay, first thing I will test is going to be the top before I start looking at circuitry. So I go on the middle pin or the centre pin on there, and then the outer pin, and I've got a beep, which means I've got a dead short, which means that the rubber is crushed and I've got a dead short between those two. If that's fine and I've got continuity, all my buttons are functioning, and I've still got a problem. The problem's with obviously the circuit inside, and then you're into replacing the circuit or stripping it apart and testing the inputs and outputs on the board, which we will do at some point. But in terms of a basic quick test, continuity you've got to have for your neg, as we've shown on this Hannah thing here. Providing I've got continuity there, if I wanted to, I could open this up and chase the circuit through and do some beeps, which I'll tell you what, I'll come back in two. We might do just that. So after taking it apart, I forgot how bloody bad these things were. It's awful. It's glue city. Basically, if you can get to it, it's relatively easy. But like I said, as I showed outside the box, our neg pin, I'm just going to tap my neg pin there, is earthed to a body point, and this is the earth for the board, not for the neg pin. The board is earthed to the outer casing, but because the neg pin is actually, if you like, driven into the bare alley, there's continuity running through this mod. And again, I should be able to test various points on the neg, so neg down to the neg on the battery terminal. If I've got nothing there, I've got a problem on this portion, I'm cool on the output. Now, I can't get to anywhere past all this hot glue to test the pos through, which is a pain. That's what I was hoping to show you. But realistically, on mods that you can get to and you can see, you can test everything up to the board, going into the board, everything past the board and coming away from the board. There should be continuity. If there's not, then that little green thing down in there is a problem, and it's a change out job. Apart from that, that's what I would do, if you know what I mean. Firstly, test me battery, because these things can be the thingy. And if everything's okay, look at your ATI. It's always good to swap, try, and do other bits and pieces before you want to be ripping one of these apart. Simple as, really. I mean, if you want me to dive a bit more in depth, let me know. But that's the way that I would do it. I check my continuity first, or my power source first, continuity of the mod. If you can prove inputs into the board and inputs out of the board, then the problem is the board. Very simple, he says, and I hope that made sense, because it didn't to me, and I'm saying it. Like I say, if you want us to dig further, we can do. but hopefully that gives you an idea of where I would go in the event of something failing. I'm going to hand you back to Marco in the studio, and hopefully when my glue lands, we'll be trying to apply super glue or CA finish like this to our little where do you go? Back to Marco.
So that was a really, really, really quick look, an overview of basic fault finding. I know, looking at chat, it could get a lot more in depth, and there are ways and means of doing that, which we will do if you want to see it. Hand you back to Marco.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yes. Now we're going to be tight for time tonight because the next bit of VT is a bit longer. So just a couple of things to say before we go to the ads, and that is there's been a recall on the NitroCore D4 DigiCharger. Now it turns out that these are in fact the counterfeit ones, and if you notice on the bottom there, they've spelt worldwide wrong. It's got a C and not an E, and NitroCore have said that these are definitely counterfeits. If you do have one of those and you bought it from a reputable supplier, I suggest you go back to them. If you bought it from an unreputable supplier or you've got it somewhere else, you're probably not going to get anything back for it because NitroCore won't replace them if it's a counterfeit item. So that's number one. Secondly, there's a European Vapers protest. It's the 29th of May in Castle Square, Swansea. Check out the Facebook page for that, and I'm sure Iridian can point you in the right direction. And then finally, before we go to the break, there's a vape meet. It's the NEV meet, the North East Vapers. It's the 16th of May at the New Crown in Mowbray Road, South Shields, NE33 3NG, starting at 4 p.m. till closing. And those of you that go to the NES meet will know that's the same venue, the New Crown Inn. Smashing venue, excellent beer, and good food too. Yes. So that's the end of part 2. Yes, it's the ads. We'll see you in part 3. VaperScene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Vapers, Dripper just got 40% bigger. So if you love discovering new e-liquids, tell Dripper what flavours you like and we'll send you 70ml of juice and at least 5 flavours. With a money back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe, dripper.co.uk.
RY4 Radio.
What's in this e-cig cloud? Harmless water vapour, right? Pretty much, yes. Compared to a lit cigarette, it's much safer than smoke. But it contains nicotine, and nicotine on its own isn't toxic and doesn't cause cancer. If you're worried about switching to vapour, here are some facts. No tar, no smoke, no burnt tobacco. Cooking your evening meal produces more toxins than are found in exhaled vapour. Tobacco smoke contains toxins at very high levels, and vapour does not. And that vapour contains 6,000 times less carcinogens than cigarette smoke. Electronic cigarette vapour. There's nothing to be frightened of. The only dangerous electronic cigarette is a banned one.
And now it's back to VaperScene on Vapor Trails TV. VaperScene is sponsored by Healthy Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. And we are back in the room. Hello, hello, hello. We're going to move swiftly on now because this next bit of VT is a little bit longer, and we are going to go slightly over time. Yes, and I looked at the Subtank Plus a few weeks ago now, but we kept moving the VT on because we had other things to cover, and I promised you it last week. So here it is, and grab a drink and get your vape and just enjoy. Yeah, we'll see you soon. Last week on The Cave, at the last part of the show, Matt had a little look at this, the Subtank Plus. He got his a day before I got mine. So I'm doing a more in-depth look. So very much like the Subtank in the way the packaging is. Outer sleeve, get rid of that. Picture on the front, slidey from the side. And there we have the beastie. And there are a few differences. Let's just take this out and I'll show you what else you get in the box. Because you get the little instructions, you get a little authenticity card, and you get a little explanation of how to prime your atomizer head. So I'll get rid of that. What you also get in this is a little baggie with some cotton. We'll just move these to one side. You get the obligatory blue screwdriver with a spare coil for the RBA unit and a full set of black O-rings and some spare screws, which is handy. I like this. I like the fact that they're shipping you with everything you need. Also, if I can get it out of the box, you get a spare Pyrex tube, which you didn't get on the original, and you also get one spare atomizer head, and this is a 1.2 ohm atomizer head. Now Dave Dawn has showed us how to re-wick these by taking it apart, which works quite well, and I still need to do that. And you also get a different RBA head. Let me zoom in for you and I will show you this. Excuse my poorly bandaged finger. I managed to slice off half my nail last night, right down to the skin. This is the same basically as the Subtank Mini. It's just a bigger version of it. And it is fairly small, this RBA unit. The top section comes off, and you can see inside there's already a coil, and if I take the middle section off, you can see, if I hold that like this and zoom in a little bit, get it into shot mark, there we go, you can see very, very small. So that's going to be fun to re-wick, which I will be doing very shortly. Let me grab the original. Now here is the new version in its constituent parts, and this is of course the version that came with the original tank. A lot bigger, and that also meant, and I still haven't used this one, this is completely as it was when I received it, because I've only got one built in RBA mode. So you can see this one came pre-coiled with a dual coil, and I still haven't changed the the little insulator either for the replacement one. But the size of that compared to the size of the upgraded one means that you don't need to muck about now taking the tank apart and putting in a different tube, etc., like you had to do. This is the new one, of course, and this is the original. It's the same size effectively, but the difference is that you don't need to muck about taking off the top section, and this is the one with the RBA built, taking off this top section and replacing it for the one with the shorter tube. It also meant you got less juice in your tank. So with the upgraded version, you just unscrew that, and this is the other atomizer head that you get, which I believe is a 0.5, yes. So you still get 2 of these, and you still get an RBA unit. However, this is so much smaller, and it allows you to use exactly the same setup without having to take it apart and swap it over. So you can do it on the fly should you wish. Whoops. And there you go. So you can go from pre-coil, factory made coil, to RBA without doing much apart from unscrewing one and screwing the other in. None of this taking screws apart. I do like the fact that there's no screw holes. However, what I would have liked to have seen is a filler hole in the top. A little screw that you could take out, or a bung that you could take out to fill without having to take the bottom section out, rest it somewhere while you turn this upside down and fill it. So it would have been nice to have seen a filler hole, which, for me anyway. Let me move this bit out of the way. The other difference, and let me just take this other Kanga off the 3D mod. The other difference you will notice now, get it into shot, is that on the original there was the 3 holes which you could then line up, and it would either be 1, 2 or 3 open, depending on your choice, and you just move those around. Still quite stiff, I have to say. So 2 and then 3. On the new version it's a slot, which makes that process a lot easier once you've got the bottom section tightened, of course. It makes that process a lot easier for you, where you can just dial it in to where you want it to be. Doing this on camera and it's a little bit stiff. There we go. Dial it into where you want it to be, as opposed to having the 3 holes. So those are the major differences. There's no real difference in size. What you will get though is 7 mils of juice in here, whereas you only got 6 on this version, and about 4 and a little bit with the RBA installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart again, and I'm going to remove the coil that came with this device, and I'm going to put on an NI200 coil instead. So I'll just take that off, and what I'll do is I'll leave it in the bottom section, and then stand it on there. In fact, I'll take the drip tip off, which is a 510 again, so you can put anything you like in, and just sit it on the top. That works as quite a nice little mod stand if you haven't got one. So I'll be back in 2. Okay, we are back in the room. Let me just zoom out a tad. There we go. What I have is one of the original baggies that I got with one of the other sub-tanks, because I have 2 of the others. So I'm just going to use the screwdriver out of that, and I'll keep everything else as it is from the new one. This is a drill bit that I'm going to use to wrap the coil, and then I'm going to use some of the Japanese cotton that they have very kindly sent in the bags. So we'll take some of that out and use some of that very shortly. And I'm going to be using some Ni200 wire so I can make a temperature controlled coil. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to remove the existing one. So hold in one hand. This is going to be very fiddly, I know. These tend to ping off as well once you've done them. Oh, it didn't ping off, that was handy. I'll just save that there. And I'm going to do 8 wraps of Ni200. So I'll just take off a length off my spool. So I have a piece of Ni200 and I'm just going to give this 8 wraps around my drill bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what I want is the legs pointing opposite directions, and I just want to push the coils together. Don't particularly want them touching, just a little bit tidier. And this should give around about 0.25 resistance. Right, so here's my coil ready to put onto the device, and this is always where it gets fiddly for me because of my big fingers. What I want to do is wrap around the screw as opposed to just slide in the post, because you get much better conductivity that way, and also it doesn't move. So what I'm going to do is just loop this first leg around the screw, and it's going to look a bit messy while I do that. Like I said, it's not that easy when you've got big fingers. Plus you're trying to keep it in camera in view, but everyone knows how to do this, but we'll show you anyway. And then the other one, just need to move that screw, and the other one goes on, loop it over, got you, little bleeder. Tighten that one up. I really need to get myself a heavy mod stand so I can do this, don't you think? Right, there you go. Just finagle that a little bit so it is about right over the hole, and we are ready to shove a wick in. But before we do, what I want to do is just trim off and then I'm just going to put it just a base on the RDA, the DNA 40, and that'll just give me what the resistance is. And it would help if I tightened it up first, to be fair. So it's a new coil, so I'm going up, and it is 0.27, and I said it was going to be about 0.26, so that is just about where I wanted it to be. I might as well leave it on here now, it's nice and sturdy. You can see there's a nice gap for the airflow. So what we'll do is we will cut a little bit of this here cotton. So I've cut a piece of cotton here, and now I'm just going to roll it around a little bit just to make the diameter the right size to go through the coil. I've done this so many times where I've made a really nice coil and I've got it in the device and it's all there and lovely, and then I've gone to put the wick in and I've bent the coil so out of shape I've had to start again. So there you go, we don't want to be doing that. So that goes in quite nicely, and I'm just going to cut it off either side at the edge of what will be the edge of the device. So there we have our wick installed. So when I put the top section on, let's take the very top section off. Put the top section back on. This should fit quite nicely. Get it around the right way first. It's a little bit long, so we'll just bunch that in the middle for this for the second. There we go. And then I'm just going to, let me zoom in. Just going to finagle that down, thus. And then I'll use the rest of this piece here. I'm going to cut it into two. I'm going to put one bit this side and the other bit the other side. And that should ensure a lovely good vapor. What I've got here is some strawberry fields. It's supposed to be, it's 50-50 PG VG, and it's supposed to be 6 milligram. However, I've slightly altered it. I've put in a little bit of PG with some ethyl maltol, and also I put in a little bit more nicotine, so it's around about 10 now. So that's lovely and soaked. Asking me if it's got a new coil, and there we have it. It is going quite nicely. That'll be better once it's had a little bit of time, and I've got the tank full. So top goes on, and then I'm going to put in some of this strawberry fields, but because I can't be bothered waiting for it to fill using the dropper, I'm just going to pour it straight in from the bottle, just because I can. There we go. Oh, loads of juice in there. It's not quite to the top. It's about 3/4 the way up. Now, it hasn't got the drip tip on, so I'll just leave it there while I just make sure everything's tight on here, which it is. That's going on. And there we have it soaking in. Let me zoom out again. I messed this one, didn't I? So, back on the RDNA 40. And it's at 20 watts. It will be. I'm almost out of battery though. So that's not going to be cracking. Drip tip. It's actually quite nice drip tip. It looks the part as well. Certainly producing. I've set the temperature at 440 degrees Fahrenheit on this, but like I said, I'm almost out of battery, if you can see. But you can see that it produces vapour quite nicely. The air hole now I've got set fully open. If you can see there, it's fully open. And it does produce rather nicely. So there you go. That's the Subtank Plus, yeah, from Kangatech. I love the Subtanks, I have to say, and I think having the smaller RBA unit is going to obviously benefit because you can get more juice in. But now I've got 3. I just need another 2 DNA 40 devices. I'm hoping to see what I can pick up at the exhibitions. Right, let's go back to the studio. And there you go. I know it was long, wasn't it? It was about an hour and something before I edited it down. So believe me, I tried to get it as short as possible. Anyway, we are over time. There was a question in chat about what gauge wire it was, and it is it's 29 AWG, 28 gram NI 200, and it's from the wireandstuff.co.uk. Other sites are obviously available. That's where I get my wire from. Crazy Wire Company in Warrington. Very quickly then, don't forget tomorrow night it's The Cave with Matt, and Chief is on, I think, as well tomorrow night. Thursday it's The Haze Hour with another Keith, with Dave Dawn, and then Monday it's Strips and Tips with the boys, Gary and myself. We'll be back next Tuesday. Say good night, Gary.
Good night, very quickly.
Say good night, Chief.
Good night. Also very quickly.
Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next week. Have a good week. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers. VaperScene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.